bookmakers.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav, that's Keith beside me. This is the Midweek Fix call-in show, and you're all very welcome on a Wednesday night, isn't it, Keith?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It is Wednesday. It is
all
Wednesday.
over the blade show.
I genuinely don't know what day it is. This show is brought to you by our sponsors, bookmakers.com. A great website for gamblers or non-gamblers, whatever way you feel. If you gamble responsibly and get all the odds on all the sports from all the bookies there. If you don't, check them out for stats comparisons, articles and all that sort of stuff as well. It's really, really good. A lot of people use it for their fancy football, even though I've literally knocked that on the head in about October. But if you're still in your fancy football, it is a good way to find out who's shooting, scoring, assist and all that sort of stuff. Loads of people in the chat, which is great to see. If you're in the chat, please hit the like button. It helps us. Share it if you would like. Make sure you throw a comment in there. In the next couple of minutes, we will put out the link to call in. You know the rules. You call in, you can ask a question, you can, whatever you like, just once you're respectful and stuff like that. Otherwise, we just throw you off. If you want to keep it a non-football tonight, like me and Keith have said earlier, I hope all these ask like non-football questions because we're just sick and tired of talking about these pack of dickheads.
Yeah.
You can, but if you want to put it to football, you absolutely can as well. We're only joking. Keith, how are you?
I'm grand, yeah, I'm grand. Do you know, you have me thinking, how do people stick with that fantasy football shit?
Do you know something? It's
like a job in itself, isn't it?
It's a massive job, and there's so many people are so into it. And they watch it every week. They watch their players. They watch other players that are doing well. And I know that sounds very simplistic, but they're tracking so many players. And it is a job in itself because, all right, you can, if you're watching loads of football the weekend, you say, "Jeez, he's doing really well. I might put him in my team," and it's all about the pricing and stuff. But it's the biggest thing for me is the wild cards and the triple captains, and like, I know there's these three things at the top of the screen that you can use at any time, but then other lads don't know you can use it twice a season, and then when the double weeks come up, you're better off using it then, and you know the sort of way. So it's
I've never used any of them because I usually give up. You know, a few weeks into the season,
I'll use a triple captain.
Never get past the first few weeks.
I always get confused on wild cards. There's a wild card and there's something else, and one of them you can change your whole team and it stays like that, and one of them you change your whole team but it reverts back to the team you had before. One's a wild card, one's I don't know what the other one is.
Yeah, I usually jacking in, forgetting my password, and you miss a few weeks, and then I don't bother with it. I do be all over the shop. Eventually, I'll go back in and see half your team have been transferred out of the country and all that, and it's like, bit of a shit show that.
But the thing is, like, we do one every year, and the one's going, I haven't checked it in a while, but the point scoring does be unbelievable in it.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like, these people must take it very seriously.
Free hits, named you know. A few people have said there to me. Just on tonight's football, Eunice says a statement win from Newcastle, 5-1 away at West Ham. I think that's the end of Moyes, but we'll talk about him in a minute. United, I think, won 1-0 against Brentford. Is that the end of Moyes for you?
Yeah, it's a bleeding. It's the managerial merry-go-round is well in action at the moment, and with managers becoming available, I think it makes some of the other ones a bit sketchy. So I know you've done winners and losers tonight. We're speaking about your pal Buck Rogers and how West Ham could be an attractive option for him, and I think they're silly enough to go for him as well. So, you know, I think that heaps pressure on Moyes because he's fucking brutal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I knew that was the sun shining on the dog's arse when he had them playing well, because he's a bit of a dinosaur, and I'm delighted I show you. I don't like them, I don't like him. But you know who I don't like more than them? Frank Lampard.
He's back at
How
Chelsea.
Is he getting that Chelsea gig?
Well, I was reading something earlier, when I say earlier, literally 15 minutes ago, and it was like, it was a tweet from somebody, and I'm sure if I went in I'd find it. But this person was convinced that Jose Mourinho will go back to Chelsea, because they're saying, look, Conte is not going to go back, Nagelsmann is available now and hasn't been chosen. A couple others are available now, haven't been chosen. They're sticking with where they are. I think Roma will go deep in the Europa League, whatever it might be. And I was only saying the other night, not Jose Mourinho in particular, but they need someone like that, because if you have a madman at the top, you need someone ruthless, looking after the team, and just to take that madness and turn it into something, rather than just a load of players landing on your door every 5 minutes. It'd be interesting. I nearly put a bet on Mourinho being back at Chelsea for the third time. I really would. Would anyone take Potter? Well, Potter's definitely going to be linked with Leicester and West Ham now. Definitely.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the standard that you should go to. I think that club,
do you?
Yeah,
do you? Because what happens if he goes in and they get relegated?
Yeah, okay.
He's gone from Brighton to Chelsea. Now, I think Chelsea was too much of a jump. But I think Brighton to a couple of these clubs is probably, based on this season, is too much of a jump backwards as well.
I think he has to lick his wounds a bit. I think, it's been a disaster for him at Chelsea. Because we can blame Bowley and the fucking fact that they've about 42 players in their senior squad. But he was still putting out different teams, and there was no consistency with him. Do you know what I mean? And I think I like Potter. I think he's very good, but I think he might have to take a step back. But I think Chelsea sort of brought him in, and there was talk that it was a long-term appointment, and you bring in a manager like that, and it's not just for 6 months or 1 year, and then they just got rid of him. It's mad. I think he should pick a team. I think Leicester would be great for him. I think he'd go in there with money, with backing, and
But a few have said there, Rafa to Leicester wouldn't be a bad bet.
Yeah, Rafa, yeah. Rafa's at that stage now, but isn't he like...
I think Rafa's become a bit of a dinosaur, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, that's what he's in. That's what he's going into that, not in the Roy Hodgson, as you were saying the other night, the David Attenborough gang, but he's in that sort of Sam Allardyce, yesterday's news sort of characters.
But the thing about Benitez is, if I'm a fan of a club and I hate the ownership, I want Benitez in, because he will ruffle feathers all over the camp. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But if I'm a team that the owners are really good, but just having a bad season, we just need to get over this and we look again next season, I don't want them.
No.
Because he could throw everything in them and then he leaves, and then you're like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's one of them. John reckons Chelsea are getting Enrique and Nagelsmann. Well, unless they are available, and unless they've said they want to leave at the
I
end
think
of the
Nagelsmann's a minefield. I think Nagelsmann, they'd have to pay huge compensation.
Yes, because he is contracted till 2026 at Bayern. Even though he's gone, they're paying his wages. Yeah. So if anyone wants to buy him, they'll have to still buy him out of a Bayern contract.
They paid for Potter, didn't they? They paid a bleeding whopper amount of money to get Potter off Brighton, and then have to pay him off as well.
Yeah, they paid something. I think they paid something north of 30 million to get Potter and his backroom staff out of Brighton, and probably have paid him, I don't know, he was on a 5-year deal, wasn't he? So God only knows what he was on. There's just loads going on with regards to Leicester, Spurs, Chelsea, Everton. Well, Everton, they've made that move with Dyche, but you look at West Ham now. I don't think Bournemouth will do anything with their manager. Southampton, I don't think will do anything to make a move.
They've already done.
Forest have come out and said that they're putting all into speculation about Cooper, so he'll stay.
It's the right thing to do. I think if you have a good coach and it's not going well for you in the Premier League, the worst thing they can do is panic and get rid of that coach. Do you know, if you go down, stick with it and just play and build again. And there's been teams that have done that, and when they've come up the second time, they've been in a better position and have had a more continuous sort of stay. And I think the likes of Forest, again, it's a mini Chelsea there, isn't it? Because they're spending, people forget about it because of Chelsea, but they were fucking ridiculous. They bought 20 odd players in the summer, and then started. They bought so many they had to loan them to Olympiacos, your man's other team, and all, didn't they?
Yeah,
outrageous.
It's all over the place. Apparently, Laszlo says Potter has said no to Leicester already. I just don't know why he goes down there. And Kev said as well, like, the best thing to do is stay out of the whole thing. Your stock rises over the next 3-4 months. Potter could look at it and go, I'm going to take 9 months off. Yeah. And come next September, someone's going to get the boot. And you've nearly a full season to go at it.
And you want a clever, as you say, the club is important. Like, you don't want to jump into a basket case club. For example, let's say in Newcastle, I know there's no fear of hell going anywhere, but I can just foresee when they sort of start really taking the leap, the expectations will be really high. Do you know what I mean? So they get rid of Howe and they look for a Potter. You wouldn't go there because I don't see what the fucking attraction other than money is. I think there's clubs that you go to that you think, right, I know Spurs get a lot of flack and a lot of stick, and their fans hate the owners. You know, every fan hates every fucking owner. But I think Spurs would be a decent move if he was to go to a big club again. But I think you should look at the mid levels and build some, because big clubs don't let you build. They don't give you time. They don't let you build.
I know they don't give you time, but my argument about Potter to Spurs is that I think Spurs should give him more time.
Oh yeah, I heard your argument. I thought it was very good. Like,
because Spurs to me just keep rinsing and repeating, and they brought in the last two managers in particular. Like Nuno Santo, people were going on, oh, what, you know, but he looked like he was trying to build something at Wolves, and that it came across as a sensible kind of appointment. If you give him the money, and he seems to be able to build a squad, albeit when he's at Wolves, I think that's the whole, and the Portuguese stuff is rolling anyway. So he was getting a lot of players that way. But I just think that Spurs need to just turn around and go, listen, do you know what people always say? Oh, it's a 5-year project, and it's never a 5-year project, because they put 5 years on it, and 3 years down the line they're having a bad run and they just bang, it's gone. So it's never 5 years. But Spurs should actually come out and say, listen, with what we have with the squad we have after the last two managers, with the way finances are at the moment, because they built an unbelievable stadium, right? And that'll come back to them in the next 4 or 5 years. There's no doubt about that.
100%.
But with that, they should be saying to themselves, no, listen, we have to do it this way, right? And it might take a bit of hurt over 2-3 years, but we'll start to see the benefit of it then when we come out of the other side of that stadium and the finances through COVID and whatever, and just rebuilding that squad off the back of the two managers. That's what Spurs should be doing, and be open about it. You see, what happens is you start leading fans down a road that you've no intention of following up on. Like when Klopp comes to Liverpool, Klopp is very clear in what he says. Haven't been good enough. We need to be better. It's going to take time. Blah, blah, blah. And he just says it. That's it. He doesn't come in and say, I'm going to win the league in a year and I'm going to win this and I'm going to win. You need them. You need the manager, the owners, the manager, the fan base, everything on the one going. And look, you might get battered one week, but at least you can turn around and go, yeah, but we know we're going to get battered some weeks. But we're going to see the benefit of it. And I think it's worth the risk, because the money they're throwing at these things, for them not to work and end up back at square one, and sometimes in some cases in a worse spot, is just mad to me.
Crazy.
Crazy. If people want to call in, I've put the link up. All right, you can call in. You know the rules, all that. If you don't want to call in and you have some questions, absolutely throw them in and we read them out. If you don't want to come on, that's absolutely fine.
I have a question.
Well, Dylan O'Rourke has one.
Right, go on, do Dylan's.
He says, I can't call in, lads, but I have a question. If you could take one rule from another sport and place it in the Premier League, what would it be? Hockey fights for him. 1v1 per game, 5 minutes on the bench.
Just a nail punch up there. Is it a rule or is it more of a blade?
Well, you can go what way you want.
A hockey one, it's not really a rule, but it's
a part of the sport, I suppose.
Yeah.
On a serious note, Dylan, mine would be the miking up with the referee from rugby union, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, it's just a no-brainer, and I don't really want to go into it. Like I've done numerous times when I get really fucking annoyed by the officiating in the Premier League, but genuinely miking up the referees is 100% what I would do, and do it exactly the way rugby union do it. On a messing kind of level, I don't know. You could throw so many rules in, couldn't you? You know what I mean? You could throw so many. Like I'd love in. When it gets past a certain time, like in tennis where it goes deuce, and then you have to win 2 points to win. Yeah. I think in cup games, right, or any game when it goes past 85, right, if you're losing by 1, if you score, it's a draw, but the other team has to score again in order to win the game. If it gets to the end, they don't get the 3 points. It's just juice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So make people go out and do that. Let me see. Aussie rules.
I would go, before we move on, before I forget, on the real one, the serious one, they are actually doing it, is the getting rid of the VAR with the fucking stupid line thing, and they're going for the more automated. I would have said, along the lines of a Hawkeye system, where it's fucking that's your it's offside or it's whatever, you know what I mean? That's what. But as a sticking with the rugby team there, I think you should only be allowed to pass the ball backwards, no forward passes.
Right.
So you have to dribble, pass back, carry, pass back. Up
Just
the
for the
faces
crack,
like
just to see
rugby,
how.
just for rugby, just no forward passing. Forward
Okay.
pass a penalty, and then you only pass back. Now you can still run forward with it,
Yeah.
but when you're passing, it has to be behind.
Emma says goals scored from outside the box count as 3 like basketball. We'd be relegated. Liverpool would be relegated.
Yeah.
Genuine. Don't score any goals outside the box. From rugby, said Zeds are here. Says from rugby you could lift teammates for headers like they do in line-outs.
Do you remember, did you used to do that when you were younger? When you were playing football and you'd run and someone would put their hand down like we're giving you a bunt and you just stand and they'd lift you up.
Yeah.
Never get the header. Never get the blade.
No, because you can't time it proper.
No.
I mean, you're just
100%
flailing around in the air somewhere. Let me see. Kev says 5 points for a win, 2 points for a score draw, 1 point for a no score draw. Do you think that'll ever? I don't think it'll ever come into football. But you know the way rugby do it? Like you win the game, you get 4 points. If you score more than 3 goals, you get a bonus point. If you lose, you get a point. But if you lose by less than 3 or less than 2, you get an extra. They get a bonus point. Like there's bonus points in rugby. You can lose a rugby game by 20 points and get 2 points. Man. Rory wants to remove offside. Let players stand where they want. Offside is like a 12-man as a defender can manage the space behind them. They used to do that in America. They used to do that in the I don't know if there's any
America were great for the rules, weren't they?
Well, in the MLS, the early days, and I remember this. They used to have imagine the football pitch marked, right? Okay, marked
segments.
Yeah, no. So it's a fully proper marked pitch, but the halfway line is a halfway marker, yeah. And they used to go halfway between one goal, halfway between the other, and put a yellow line down. Okay, so the pitch was in thirds, if you get me. Do you know what I mean? So basically, you couldn't be offside from the halfway line to this line halfway inside their half. Do you get me? And it was absolutely unbelievable. Emma wants to bring back MLS penalties, which were just one-on-one with the goalies. And you
know what? They were great. Obviously, more of a gimmicky thing, but it would be interesting to see.
Wasn't the one where they used to have goalkeepers throwing the ball at each other?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, thrown. The goals would be like, a few yards apart, and they have to throw it and try and save it. Madness. The Americans, if there's any Americans in here, fair play, but they tried to change it back in the early 90s, didn't they? They were doing everything to bleed and change the sport to suit them. Yeah. But, so when you look back at it, but the American penalties, penalties are a pain in the bollocks now, aren't they? Because they're penalising the keepers more and more. Now, I know keepers got ridiculous and Emmy Martinez and all with the shithousery and all that. And you hate when they start acting the maggot a bit, but they're really, really trying to clamp down on them, but not the forward, not the taker. Do you know what I mean? Like the taker can still stutter his run and all that sort of stuff. So I hate penalties in their current form. Do the MLS penalties, let them run in, beat the keeper. It'd be great with football if they did do that sort of different points system and all that, because like draws, I know that's why
Americans don't like draws.
They've never they don't like draws anyway, but even in the England, like when there used to be 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and you could pass the ball back. I know we look at playing, we look back in the olden days with rose-tinted glasses, but a lot of shite. You know what I mean? A lot of shite. So they went to the 3 points. But I think at this stage now, it probably do. But then if you mention that about changing the actual rules, like 4 points for a win and as you say, extra bonus points.
But now is probably the time to go in and do it, because FIFA just want to change everything. Like if you go to FIFA and go, listen, they want 50 teams at the World Cup and all sorts of madness. Like, you know what I mean? You could try to get something through the back door fairly quick with them and it might happen. James Doherty says, have a special award for like the best play actor on the pitch. Just a really embarrassed when he thinks Harry Kane would win. Harry Kane was a disgrace, you know what I mean?
He was a disgrace, wasn't he?
The Cordy should be sent off because he raises his hand, but honestly.
But he does hit him in the face, in fairness to him.
He hits him in the face, but Keith, come here and I tell you. How many times have you been in a pub, right? It's packed. You go to turn from the bar and someone fucking is turning at the same time. They're reaching out for a drink or something. They hit off and you go, oh yeah, no problem. That's what it was.
I think it was a bit more than that. I think it was a bit.
It's not, Keith. Are you telling me if you got hit like that, you would go down on the ground, lie on the ground with your hands in your head, in your face down on the ground?
No, I wouldn't. But
and he doesn't even have to do it because them
if
fellas
he
getting sent
doesn't
over
do the line on the ground like he's after getting shot, I think there's no arguments. It's a penalty. It's a red card. It's without doubt. He puts his hand. It wasn't just an innocuous.
No, he
I
throws
think
his hand.
He puts it into him fairly harsh. But Kane goes down and lies down like he's being shot. And I think
it's a
disgraceful carry on by Kane.
I'd like that,
that's the only reason he's come out getting stick out, because if he doesn't do that, it's a red card. No one's saying that about Kane.
All he has to do is put his hand to his face as if to say, what's going on here?
Do you see that? And he got me.
And there's VAR anyway.
Yeah.
So the fella on the camera's looking, going, Kane could literally stand there and not flinch, and that fella's getting sent off.
Sure, Kill had the red card out like a light anyway, so he was leading, sending him off. Kane would have seen him before he even hit the ground.
That's true. Let me see. What else have I got here? We want non-football questions as well, though, by the way. Any random stuff. We really
I have a question for you, right?
Oh yeah, you had a question, one, yeah.
It's not from me. It's not from me. Friend of the show, Stuart Davis. Stuart sent me a text.
Oh yeah, Stuart. Yeah,
Stewie with the blading. Yeah, with the lights.
We won the 3 lights.
Yeah. Great story, that one, wasn't it? Stuart sent me a question. Says, on the show tonight, ask Gav this one. It's the year 20, and I think he's fucking pumping you up something terrible here. It's the year 2026, and the previous year's winner of the Masters, Mr. Gav Doyle, has to submit his menu for this year's tournament. What's on the menu? 2026. You're winning the Masters in 2025. I think he's giving you too much credit.
A bit of a stretch.
But he wants to know, as the previous winner, what are you putting on the menu for
the thing is, the Masters, the Champions Dinner, wherever they have at the Masters, I know Matsuyama won it and had all different things, and what's his name? The last season's winner. He's one of the favourites this year. Sky Scheffler. He has barbecue and burgers and all stuff going on. Are we going 3 courses here? So we'll start. Okay.
You tell me. It's up to you. You're the champ. Do what you want. Scotty Scheffler's putting on a barbecue.
It's a great question. Right, starting off with drinks. Right.
Of course, cans.
None of this fucking, people walk around, would you like a wine and all that? Fuck that, right? You know what you want? You want those things on the table, where there's Guinness, Heineken, whatever, the taps, you pull your own points, right? And there's just a big fucking chest freezer beside the table. You can just reach in and grab a bottle if you want, right? Yeah. And at the end of, and then you can go up to the bar if you want gin and tonic and all that stuff, right? That's the first thing I'm drink, right? Starters is hard. You couldn't give them an omelette, could you?
Spice burger omelette.
I was going to go spice burger omelette.
Do what you want.
But,
Joe, you're the champ.
No, I'm not going spice burger omelets. It would have to be some sort of, it's chicken in breadcrumb, definitely, with a load of different sauces and potato wedges to start, right? And I'll tell you why.
Wedges and goujons, nice, yeah, okay.
yeah.
But there's a problem with omelets.
I'll tell you why, because when you're at these sort of things, the chance that you've had a few gargles before you sit down with dinner, and everyone's going to horse into the goujons, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
They are going to horse the goujons. A few
wedges, right? Platter. Who doesn't like a platter with a few jars?
Yeah, so that's what I'm going for with the starters, right? You can throw a few bleeding bits of carrot sticks and all around if you want, just to make it
fancy
up or whatever. Yeah, but no, I'm going with that, right? An open face crisp sandwich, since that's here. The mains is definitely a burger of some sort.
A burger.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm definitely going burgers, yeah. With whatever you want with it. You can have chips. You know what I mean? You can have whatever you want. What else do you have with a burger, right?
Yeah.
But the idea behind the burger would be is that a server comes to the table and does the burgers in front of you, and you build your burger from the top right through. It's not a case of there's a burger, but can I have tomato on it? If you want your burger
yourself.
No. You would you like a bun? Yeah. Or would you rather on a bleeding roll? Right? Or would you rather on whatever? Right? You can have whatever bread base you want. And then it's all about, you have to tell them exactly the sauces the burger goes in, what do you want with it, and he cooks right in front of you. So burgers definitely, and desserts. There'll be definitely milkshakes in the dessert. You're getting a milkshake at the end, and I'd have to go with like a chocolate cake. You know, like a nice chocolate cake now. No, not one of these where it's all lathered in chocolate outside when you cut into it, it's dry as fuck.
Yeah, I'd like a fondant
yeah,
type thing.
chocolate / red velvet cake. That's what I'm going to go for. But they'd make a green velvet because it's the Masters.
Irish. All right.
Yeah.
Dylan O'Rourke is a right comment in there.
Yeah,
Tiger, you've barely touched your spice burger omelette. Is everything all right?
People laugh at the spice burger omelette. It's absolutely fucking amazing. Yeah. Someone did
Kev O'Sullivan puts in. Sorry, Kev O'Sullivan put in black pudding on scallops. Gav's more of a white pudding spread on.
Oh no, I'm good with either pudding. Oh no. I'll tell you what you'd have to have. You would have to have black and white pudding infused sausage rolls somewhere on the menu, because they are just out of this world.
They can be a little, what do you call it, a little hors d'oeuvres, little tiny, put a little matchstick in them, make them fancy. There you go.
Yeah, so listen, people might laugh at that, but
like, this dinner before you go out playing golf, or what's
no, it's the night before. You just keep drinking that night. But what I'm saying is, like, if you turned up, Keith, and I said to you, here, stall it down, we have a few drinks, and I said to you, here, there's a load of goujons there. Right, they're nice ones. Now I'm not talking, you know, the ones where the breadcrumb. I don't like the ones where the breadcrumb are real, just flat on it. I like the chunky kind of breadcrumb. The way they're done, I just there's a certain way I like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the Masters, so I'd expect a certain level of, class about these chicken goujons. So
yeah, goujons. Yeah,
we're not getting the frozen jobbies here.
Yeah, and but like if I said to you, come down and have that, and then I said, come here. Do you want a burger? And you can just build it exactly as you like it. Like every single bit of it is built. And then there's a lovely chocolate / what did I call that cake?
Red velvet.
Yeah, but it'd be green velvet.
Do you know what I do? Like, what you've saved on food, you've spent on 82 chefs to hand make all these burgers and cook them for them there at the table. Like,
well, they're not needed at the bar because you're pulling your own cargo.
It's true, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I thought it all out. Anyway, if Augusta need me on any stage for catering, I'm available. Someone did ask earlier, who do I fancy for the Masters? If there's a lot of rain, I think it could go to any score. The thing with Augusta is, when it's warm, hot, dry, it runs like a bastard. So you can't place tee shots anywhere because they just run off everywhere. The greens, like, if you ever get a chance to actually look into Augusta, and the angles of all the greens and stuff, they're all over the place. So if there's rain, I think it could go to any score, a bit like Dustin Johnson a couple of years ago. Rory's in with a huge chance because I haven't heard a word out of him all week, and I have this theory that if Rory McIlroy does interviews like every 5 minutes in the run up to the Masters, he can't win. He's on good form. I think he's a good show. Scheffler has a great show, without a shadow of a doubt. Justin Thomas is always good. Spieth, Justin Rose. There's loads of players in there that can win it. Watch for Cameron Smith as well, though. He's on the Live Tour now. He won the Open last year. But to pick one is so fucking hard. That's why Paddy Powers give you 10 places. When you're going.
You don't want any of them live ones to win it, do we not?
I kind of would like to see it happen just for the crack, but it's the best golf tournament in the world without a shadow of a doubt, and I'll be watching it from tomorrow. The thing about the Masters is the Masters Augusta control the TV, so you won't get it early tomorrow like you would the Open. You can go up on Thursday morning for the Open, and you can sit there from 7 o'clock in the day till 7 in the morning, 7 at night. You can't do that with the Masters. They won't even let American TV show it early, from what I can remember.
Second best golf tournament after the Daytrippers annual golf day.
Well, the Daytrippers annual golf day is just a bit of golf and a load of messing. Do you know what I mean? Gav, do you remember that golfer a few years back called Bubba Watson? Yeah, he's still playing. He's on the Live Tour and he's in the Masters tomorrow as well.
Bubba, what a name.
Kieran's back, Justin Thomas. There's just so many players. Lowry is a show. It all depends on the weather. Because if it's dry, you have to be very, very accurate. But you have to be very imaginative in the way you play golf. If it's wet, the longer hitters can just boom it down the middle, and they know it's going to hit the fairway and it's going to stop. And they can hit at pins and it's going to stop. Whereas at Augusta and it's dry, you can land the ball a foot away from a pin and just spin on the ball, and you'll be in water. That's how mental it is. And the undulations is unbelievable. So yeah, who could win it? I don't know. There's so many. I'd like to see Rory win it. I'm being honest with you. I really would like to see Rory McIlroy win it, because I think he's the best golfer on the planet. And I think if he wins it, he'll go on to win, I don't know how many majors, because I think this is what's holding him back. This is in his head, and if he can get that out of his head, I think he's great. What else have we got? No one's ringing in, Keith. No one's bothered ringing in tonight.
They're intimidated by the golf chat, Gav. You can ring out, talk about anything, not football.
Ask any questions
Not
at all.
football.
I did like that question about the field, though. I did like that. Is Tiger Woods playing? Is Tiger in the Masters? I don't think he is. Or is he?
I don't know.
I couldn't. No, that's, you know something. It's I have to double check that now, because Woods will find it hard around this course, because what you don't see on TV is how up and downhill it is everywhere. There's no flat surfaces in the place, so he actually struggles.
He'd be bollocksed.
Just let me see. I'm trying to see now if he's on there. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't notice his name on it. Oh, he is in it. 50 to 1 to win it. You never know what Woods, you see. If you don't pay close attention to him, he could be playing 1 week, he mightn't be playing the next. Keith and Gav, do you watch motorsports like Formula 1 or MotoGP, says Eunice?
I used to watch the Formula 1.
Murray Walker days?
Yeah, back in the olden days. But yeah, I don't watch the Lewis Hamilton, all that shit. I don't watch any of that. I used to watch it when Schumacher was tearing it up. Used to love it. It was a much more competitive thing. Any old sham could win one. Do you know what I mean? I know there was still the better cars and all that, but I don't understand people going to pay to watch it. You know, you're standing there, and every few minutes you get it.
Yeah, but it's the whole experience around the weekend. Like, it's not just turning up and watching it. There's so much goes on. It's a bit like golf. People say, you just stand there in one hole, but there's so much going on around the place in big tournaments. John says, do people from Ireland support people from Northern Ireland? Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah. Well, like, if you go back to the 92 Olympics, Wayne McCullough was from the north.
Yeah.
And I remember watching him through the Olympics in the boxing. You know, Darren Clark is from the north. He's a golfer. Rory McIlroy is from the north. Yeah, I don't think that really comes into it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. There's shite bags everywhere, isn't there? Like, so. Like...
Yeah, no, I just watch golf for the golfers they are. I don't really care where they're from. Do you know, that sort of way. But Formula 1, I kind of got back into it over the last year or two. I was like,
it seemed to pick up, a bit, and that show on Netflix seemed to get a few people on board, didn't it? That playing.
Oh, Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
But
Verstappen's a mad fucker. I do like his. I like the cut of his shit.
I tell you something. Last year, I really got back into it, mainly because Kev O'Sullivan never shuts up about it when it's on, and he's really into it. And he was saying, God, watch it. There was 5 races left, and it was Verstappen, Hamilton. And I did get into it. And the last race, remember all that stuff that was in Abu Dhabi or wherever it was. And I remember watching the race, and Hamilton is leading, Verstappen's about, I don't know where he is, 8th, right? And no, he's not 8th, he's 2nd. But there's about 8 cars between him and Hamilton. Yeah. And it comes down to a safety car. And I immediately text Kevin and said, what happens here? And Kev says, well, they either run the safety car till the end and Hamilton wins the title, or the safety car goes off, they've 2 laps left, and your man can't never get him by 8 cars in time to catch him. So I said, so it's Hamilton. He says, yeah, they're the rules. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. And next thing you see all these fellas moving out of the way. Yeah. And Verstappen's able to go in and get new tyres. And I was like, what is going on? And Kev was like, this is a disgrace. But I kept saying to Kev, have you got this rule right? He said, Gav, I promise you that they're breaking the rules here. They're breaking the fucking rules here.
That.
But I kind of went off it then, because I thought, you can't just make stuff up as you go along. I don't get me. And the whole argument was, you want to see racing, but that's all part of racing. Crashes, red flags, yellow flags, wherever it might be. That's all part of it. And at the end of the day, Lewis Hamilton was in a position where, you know, he was he was like had his advantage was taken off him because of something someone else done.
Yeah,
Do
but
you know what I mean?
you
But that's
could
the
have
way it
won
is.
by just getting a jant off a safety car.
Yeah,
Bollocks
I
to
know,
that.
but the thing is, Keith, my understanding of it is that if these 8 cars were to go by, you have to wait for them 8 cars to go all the way around and back into position while moving under a safety car. So by the time they'd have went and got around, the race would have been over.
Yeah,
Do you get
nobody
me?
wants that. We
You
want the
know,
action. Boom.
I know you want the action,
Cheap.
but at the same
Let's
time,
go.
the rules were the rules. You know the sort of way.
I love the piss of all the right people.
I don't watch the MotoGP. My nerves be gone watching them
What's
boys
that,
on the
the
bikes.
weeks? Yeah.
Ah,
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Their face is nearly on the ground when they're turning corners and all stuff like that.
yeah.
Right, what else? Have you got anything else? Any other questions in your locker, Keith?
Wrapping her up. No, I only had one because it got sent to me. I'm not a question man. I'm here to answer questions. Verstappen is the Harry Kane of F1. I hate him. No. He's the Luis Suarez, maybe. He's not the fucking Harry Kane. The Luis Suarez. He's rock and roll. He's box office. He's the only one that you'd be watching for.
Yeah. Brian says he used to watch it. Landscape has changed significantly. McLaren and Williams are nowhere. Have Benetton gone? Or have they morphed into something else? I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, Benetton were a thing, weren't they? When back in the good old days when Johnny Herbert and fucking someone else would be driving for them, they were the probably never drove for Benetton in his life, but that's just who came to me head there.
Dante Arias says, a while back I watched you guys special on Luis Suarez. I absolutely loved it. I'm from Uruguay, an absolute hero here. Hopefully Keith saw the game against Penarol in the Classico. He absolutely killed him.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, Luis Suarez. We love Luis Suarez here. We should do more of that, shouldn't we? We should do more.
Yeah, I love them shows.
We should do more. But yeah, he went. He's playing with Gremio now, isn't he? He was only went back to Nacional for a couple of months for the World Cup, and then he's rocked up there. But funny enough, one of my tips for the future is now back at Penarol on loan, Matthias Ariza. So Dante, let me know what you think of him. Is he one to keep an eye on? He absolutely hopped in a load of goals. You think he's banging them in at the moment. So yeah, watch this space. Matthias Ariza, the next Luis Suarez.
Rank D is in order next year. Arteta, Lampard, Gerrard and Rooney. Is this for as managers next year?
As managers?
Yeah. Rank these in order for next year.
Okay.
I'm not too sure why you want to do that, but I promise you it's Arteta number one.
The rest of them in jellies, like the rest of them are geek.
I don't know.
Well, we don't know about Rooney. Rooney actually done a good job at Derby, I thought.
Yeah, he's away in
under
America
the circumstances. I don't know what he's doing over in America.
Oh, sorry. Assuming Everton would take Rooney as manager, he says.
Right.
It's still Arteta. I don't know why anyone would give Lampard a job. Gerrard needs to go off out of the spotlight and do something. And Rooney would be mad to come back to England.
I think Gerrard. I can't see it happening for him, to be honest. I didn't see anything from him that made me think he's going to be a good manager. Arteta, I cannot stand the fella. I fucking hate him. Little mini Guardiola with his antics, but yeah, he'd be ahead of the others.
Let me see. Declan says, I know nothing about golf. Is Tiger allowed to go around in a cart, or does he have to walk? You have to walk. And you'll see when Tiger Woods plays, he'll be okay day one, and on day two he'll struggle. And if he makes the cut, he'll really struggle, because if he makes the cut, the talk will be, can he survive the weekend? That'll be it. Yeah. Eunice says, maybe a football question. I'm seriously concerned about Fabinho. Might it be done for him at LFC?
Eunice has been throwing this one in a bit now tonight. I'd get rid of him, Eunice, personally. I think he's done. I think a lot of them are done. That's the problem. And I'll wait to be proved otherwise on some of them, because you can't sort of get rid of all of them.
Just to cut across you, Dante Arias says, Keith, Arezzo was killing me. I'm a Nacional fan. Hasn't stopped scoring. And
banging them in.
Somebody else asks, LFC Aaron says, Keith, what are your favourite Argentinian and Brazilian club sides? Sorry, before you go on about Fabinho, and I forget.
Yeah, see, I love teams, and it's mad, because one night I'll wear a Boca Juniors top, the next night I'll wear a River Plate, and the next night I'll wear an Independiente. So I do like a lot of the teams, like Newell's Old Boys as well. The thing I love about South American football, and it's the thing I love about sort of American sports as well, is I'm not tied to one thing. I enjoy it, you know what I mean, without having the Liverpool sort of fandom obsession on it. If I'm picking a team in Argentina, it is River Plate. People go mad. No, Boca. I prefer River Plate. Historical club. They're the team I love there. And in Brazil, when I was younger, they used to show a lot of Brazilian league football. I don't know if you remember that, Gav, going back to about 92, 93.
I
They
always
used to
remember
show it.
Palmeiras.
Palmeiras, yeah, they were the team. That's what I was going to say. Palmeiras were the dogs' bollocks back then. They
They
are
were
now
the
as well.
green, didn't they? They were the green and black.
Yeah.
Was it green and black? Yeah.
Green, yeah. So they were always a good team, but I always had a soft spot for Flamengo. That's because you heard about, Liverpool playing them in the world, whatever the equivalent of the World Club Cup was back in the 80s when Zico and that was playing. So Flamengo in Brazil were the historical team, but when I was early teens, around that time, it would have been Palmeiras as well. You just love all that. Like I said, I love all the South American football. Like in Uruguay, Penarol Nacional, love that. Of a soft spot for a Bolivian team called the Strongest. I won a big accumulator on them one week. The Strongest, great.
3 a.m. accumulator, was it?
Yeah, it was. You got up the next day and you're all riding on the Strongest, and they won. I was like, yes, love it. I think Kev said in the chat there, the Libertadores is starting. And yeah, the Strongest are actually in with River Plate this year. And who else are they in with? They're in with River Plate. They're in with a Brazilian team. I can't think of which Brazilian team it is. And Cristal or something off from Peru. But yeah, Libertadores is great. For people that love, the thing I always say about South American football is the quality isn't as refined maybe as it is in Europe, but it's much more passionate, and the skills are brilliant and the tackles are filthy, and it's just much more energetic and much more fireworks than you'd see in Europe. So yeah, if anybody get onto the South American stuff, it's fucking great.
Before you keep going about Fabinho, James CBR says, what's the odds on Rafa coming back to the Premier League with jobs appearing? He'd be linked, but he says his interview with Fowler was great on YouTube. I'm going to be honest, I couldn't get past 15 minutes of our interview because Rafa Benitez to me just came across as someone that hates everybody. Literally hates everybody, and they were the two lads were trying to throw a bit of positivity at him about certain players, and he was just like, well, yeah, maybe, but you need to do this. It's one of those things. But Fabinho. Now I have a bit of a wider look at this, but go on, Fabinho. You take Fabinho. I'll go with the wider look in a minute.
Yeah, see Fabinho. I just think I don't know. I don't know what to do about Fabinho, because to me he does look like he's fallen off a cliff, because it doesn't even just look like his legs are gone. His decision making isn't very good. His timing is fucking way off. I think there's a lot of miles in him that it's probably better to cash in on him, and I would cash in on him as I think he's a valuable asset. Do you know what I mean? So he's one that I would definitely move on. Can he get it back? He could do. I was listening to something, it was the Anfield Rap, and they were talking about keeping him as, replacing him, but keeping him in the squad. I don't know. He's on big dough as well, isn't he? Like, so would he be happy to be a jobber in the squad? I just think I don't think it's enough for Liverpool to just replace the Keitas, the Oxlade-Chamberlains and the Firminos of this world and bring in three and go again with these, because there's red flags off a lot of these, and Fabinho for me is sort of chief among them.
Well, I think what you're seeing now, at the start of the season we were going about midfielders. We're going on about before the start of the season, but it was all about the midfield. We need midfielders, right? And that saying, players don't become shy overnight and stuff like that. And that's true. Do you know what I mean? They don't just become terrible overnight. They're in bad form, Liverpool, at the minute. But what I'm seeing now is like, this fella, get rid of him. It's getting rid of everyone. It's getting rid of fucking coaches, and everything now is out the window. And I suppose that's to be expected, because that happens. Like, Liverpool aren't the only club for this to happen to. You know what I mean? And every fan base does this, Get new fucking coaches in, get new assistant managers, get new players, get this, get that, change the whatever in the ground, let's get a singing section. All mad stuff comes out, right? But when you think about it, it happens to so many clubs. Like, it's definitely happened to United in the last 15 years. It's 100% happened to Chelsea, who've won Premier League titles. It's happened to City on a lesser extent, where they've just hasn't happened for them the following season. It has happened, but over the last 4 or 5, they've been ridiculous. It's 100% happened to Arsenal. It happens to so many clubs, right? But I think we're in danger here of, and I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were like, "Jeez, it's really bad, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah, it is bad." But like, and I hate saying, "Oh well, I've seen worse," and people comparing it to Hodgson and stuff. And I'm kind of going, well, you know, say what you want about it. And I hate going down that route. But like, genuine, my response to someone yesterday was, just suck it up. Like there's like, and that's not me being flippant to anybody or saying, you know, you don't have the right to be annoyed over this. I'm annoyed over it. I want Liverpool to win every game, you know, and especially when you see where the root problem is for me, and you've seen it going on and on and on, and it's even being compounded by the fact that Bajcetic isn't fit, because you can see a difference he makes. Legs in midfield, he wants to move, he wants the ball, he wants to progress. And I honestly think, and people might shoot me down for this, but you know, people are on top of Van Dijk at the minute, Trent, Salah at times, you know, Robertson at times. Tsimikas was horrendous last night. But I get that. But what I'm saying is, I genuinely think if we go back to the start of the season, right, and think about what we needed, right, that's what we need now. Because when Liverpool were at their best, right, from 2018 to 2022 or whatever, with that one season off in the middle, it was always a motor in midfield. And I'm not talking about going in and all this Brexit stuff and you can throw all these fucking mad names around. What I'm talking about is a functioning, well-oiled midfield. Whether that's three jobbers, or whether that's one fella at the base, one fella walking his bollocks out, one fella pulling strings, it hasn't been functional. And the effect it's having, for me, on the likes of Trent, Robertson, even the forwards who can't nearly cheat as much, they have to come back, because there's no guarantee of how we defend, which means then they have to turn, and instead of being 40 yards from the opposition's goal, they're 60 yards, which means it gives the teams more chance to get back and stuff like that. And I think, no, I'm not saying for a second that any of these players have been good and the whole excuse for, say, Van Dijk's form or Trent's form is down to the fact we've no midfield, but I think it has a big bearing on it. Because I just look at Trent and I think to myself, he's trying, and it must be instruction, he's still trying to play the game he played last year, and we can't. But if you put, like, I honestly, this is my belief in it. If you bring in, and you can name whatever midfielders you want, name 3 midfielders, brand new.
Bellingham, right? Mount, Caicedo.
Right, there, right? You bring them 3 in, right? I guarantee you will see an upturn in Trent, Robertson, the back 2, centre half wise, forwards, right? Who know them boys in midfield are going to win it. They're going to be solid. They're going to win it. They're not afraid to take the ball under pressure. They're going to, break a press. And that's just not what's happening in Liverpool. In midfield, what's happening is we can't take the ball under pressure, right? Which means then that we're under pressure, which means that the forwards have to come back to make sure, they can't gamble anymore. Then, when the ball gets turned over high up the pitch, we can't get back, which means then the 2 centre halves who are doing the same things they used to do 2 years ago, genuinely, where they would hold off on a player and hold them and know behind them someone's getting back in here to sort it out, and it's not happening. It's simply not happening. So
I find the defensive line is a bit. There's always one of them that's fucking, playing offsides and all. There's always one, and that's because they're not tuned in.
Exactly, but that's not being decisive in what you do. Like, if you watch Liverpool's high line, how many times when we were at our best did we catch people offside? Yeah. Because they all stood in that line and they went, "This is our line, and what's going to happen is you're going to have to play an exceptional ball because you're under pressure from a Wijnaldum or a Henderson or whoever, right, to get it past us." Okay? And even if you play a percentage ball, we're going to gobble it up. But what's happening now is one of them gets indecisive and says, "Oh, will I go, will I not?" And they can nearly see the headlines in their head as to they've given away a goal. So one of them just turns off for a second, nearly checking what's going on. Whereas they never checked before. They just always knew where they were going to be. And that was because the midfield would either win the ball high and your attackers were up high and you kill them, right? Or if they happened to get out of a press, our midfield chased. And if a centre half was pulled out wide, that midfielder would be back. No doubt about it. But now you're looking at Fabinho can't get back in. Henderson can't get back in. Elliott isn't built to get back in. Either is Jones. Thiago actually done a decent job of trying to get back in, but that's not his game. So what for me, you're never going to change 7 of these, 8 of these players in the summer. You're never going to change 6 of these players, take 3 coaches out and bring 3 coaches in. You're not going to do it. So what you need to do is you need to find the root problem that everyone knows it is and fix it. And if it comes to next season where you're 3 months in, you go, we're still 5th here, but we're improving. You know what? But what's going wrong? Oh, do you know what's wrong? We're the midfield doing everything they can, but we're making mistakes at the back. You need to change that. But you're never going to all do it. You're never going to do it in one window. And listen, that's why, Keith, that's why people out there are fucking going mad over the transfer policy, what we've bought, because we have spent, but where we spent it. Do you know, sort of way? But at the same time, if we'd assigned 2 midfielders, you could argue then, well, Mane left and this left and he's not in form. You know, they just took the wrong turn on a couple of occasions. And what they need to do now is they need to line themselves up in the summer and go, we are going to make this midfield where it will dominate on the ball, break the press, be creative, work their bollocks off, which frees up our fullbacks, gives our centre backs more security, and allows our attackers to pin people back. And I think that sounds very simplistic. It does sound very simplistic, but if you go back to the start of the season, nobody was talking about this fella's form, that fella's form. It wasn't. It was about the midfield, and it's still about the midfield for me because the rest of the team are shitting themselves when they walk onto that pitch, regardless of what midfield we put on.
It'll be interesting because there's so many midfield players out there. I'd name 3 there: McAllister, Caicedo, Bellingham and Mount, and none of them are holding midfielders. But Caicedo will be the closest one to that. But he can do the job. He's got energy. He's probably a more tenacious Wijnaldum. And you can understand the link there. But there's so many players. Like McAllister is a great player. He's not a defensive player. But you've got Thuram, you've got Kone, you've got 100 players that we don't even know, that we haven't heard of. It's just about getting the right lads in. And, you know...
It's about getting legs, Keith.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's about getting legs. But I'd be worried, like, Arthur, right? We brought in Arthur. And it's been an unmitigated disaster, and you were right on the shoulder on right. This nonsense, and I want to talk about Pep as well, but this nonsense about bringing in Arthur, and you see his injury record. So not only is it, what's the point? He's injured as fuck. What you don't want to do is bring in a midfielder that's got an absolute blatant chronic history of injuries. All players have injuries, right? That's fair enough. All players have injuries, but you want to make sure you're bringing in players that you think could be durable, and that's what I like about some of the links we have. Now, if you look at the ones I've mentioned there, like Caicedo's only like 20, 21, Bellingham's only 19. They're not old, they're not experienced, so you probably need to get that. And what's your take on Mason Mount? Because I see a lot of people are lashing him over and saying he's not good enough. I think he's fucking excellent, and what he's good at is he is tactically and technically brilliant and follows instructions, and there's a huge smell of Adam Lallana off him for me. And I think he's, you see,
that's where you're gonna get hit with stuff, because there's a huge smell of Adam Lallana off. Yeah. Because Liverpool fans, like, it's a bit like Henderson and other players where there's a massive split on them. Mason Mount, I think, would be a really good signing for Liverpool, because look, people think, oh, where is he this season? I'll tell you where he is this season. He's at a club that's signing fucking player after player after player. And the homegrown players, certain quota of them, are being looked at to be sold because they're going to be shown as full-on profit right now in their accounts, right? But Mason Mount, honestly, Mason Mount will run. He will fucking... He'll run, he'll challenge, he'll tackle. He's not afraid of any physicality. He can get a goal. He's good at assists. He feels a bit like, and I hate saying it, a bit of a Klopp player. Do you know? And someone said it, and I don't know who it was. It might have been you, it might have been someone else on the show a couple of weeks ago. And he said it feels a bit like what Ox was going to be at Liverpool, where Oxlade-Chamberlain was run around. He wasn't afraid to be physical, but he looked to attack, he looked to shoot, he looked to create. And like Oxlade-Chamberlain was flying at Liverpool before he gets that injury against Roma, like flying. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, Ox isn't playing this week, Jay-Z. And you know, that's how it was at the time. But the thing about Mount is people worry. I'll tell you why people worry about Mount, because he sees 60 and 70 million. He's not leaving Chelsea for 70 million quid. There is not a fucking hope in hell that him, with a year left, right, goes for 70 million quid. Simple as that. He will go for 30 to 40 million quid.
Yeah,
right?
I think that figure
And
as well.
and
I
that's
think he's well
absolutely
worth
fine because Ox signs for Liverpool for 40 million. I think he only has
Yeah.
a year left on his deal anyway.
Yeah, that's
when he's
true.
leaving Arsenal, right? But it's about who you put them in with. Like, what did people expect of Keita? People expected Keita to get on the ball, move with it, go past people, create, score, get a ball under pressure. Mount does all that.
Yeah.
Mount does all that. And while people talk about the English tax and stuff, honestly, if Mount came out of fucking Germany or France or Italy or Spain or South America as that sort of player with a year left, everyone would want him. It's the fact that I think that he's not exotic enough, you know. But if you're telling me you're going to get rid of Naby Keita and bring Mason Mount into the squad, it improves you straight away.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I know people want this and this, and like Caicedo was just mad money, but I don't know if he still goes for that sort of money. Even though he signed that deal, I think there might be, you know, it was a bit weird of him to sign if there isn't something in there that he can go on a release to certain clubs for a certain amount of money. But Mason Mount makes sense. Jude Bellingham makes sense because of his age, the experience he has at his age. He's an absolute, he's an athlete. Do you know the sort of way? He makes sense. But I know where you're coming from with regards to a holding midfielder. And that's where I think they will look in the likes of a Thuram or Bajcetic might get a go in there. A Ugarte, someone like that might go in there. Caicedo might go in there. You know, if they wanted Caicedo, he could absolutely go in there. But your biggest problem of it all is that all these players that are left in the likes of Thiago, and I'm not saying left to do nothing, but Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho, whoever it might be, well established at Liverpool, will they turn around and go, well, these three lads are in now and they're going to play most of the games, am I okay with that? That's probably your biggest issue. And you might need to sell. Do you know what I mean? You might need to sell literally for the harmony of the squad. Do you know what I mean? Mount has scored over 10 goals in each of his last 2 seasons. When's the last time a Liverpool midfielder scored over 10 goals in a season? Stevie G 10 years ago asked Jono. It's just the energy for me. When I look at Liverpool, like, why can't you run back? And then when the ball comes on, why can't you run forward? That's what midfielders are. Do you know what I mean? Like Toby is saying, Thuram isn't a 6.
No, he's an 8, but he can do a 6. I mean, it's like
he's that young that you can come in and do it. You know what I mean? But the other fella, what's the other fella? Kone.
Kone.
Yeah, so someone like that. You know, it's all about getting legs and intensity in midfield.
Yeah,
honestly, if you get them in, there's no way anyone's going to convince me that an intense midfield at Liverpool, Salah isn't living off it, Nunez isn't living off it, Gakpo, Luis Diaz will literally, he's like the connector to this fucking midfield where he's real intense in everything he does. There's no way, and not only that, if you have a fella in midfield like Mount that's willing to work hard, track back, good on the ball, you know, that brings out the best in Trent.
Good on set pieces as well.
But it brings out the best in Trent because Trent knows he can trust a fella on the ball. He knows that if he goes, this fella will be able to make up the yards and put a tackle in or hold somebody up. Do you know what I mean? Whereas at the moment, Trent for me is still trying to play in a certain way, but can't get back to do it because the fella behind him isn't getting back anyway. Do you know what I mean? And that's not me absolutely defending Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he's been appalling in some games this season, and I think his attitude has looked appalling. But part of me, when I look at him, thinks he's probably fucking upset here because I think he'd be quite happy if he said to him, "Listen, you just stay at the back. I'll do me a little bit of defending and I'll float a few balls forward," and that's what a fullback does. But no, he's been asked to go up and play fucking 30, 40 yards from the goal, and when that comes down the right hand side off the back of this, where's the fella in midfield? Nowhere to be seen, treading water, running in treacle, and that's what the problem is for me, Keith. So midfield,
I think there's a
you go and get 3.
You go on a 3, but I think there's talk of putting Trent into midfield next year. Not next season, sorry, the following season. Do you get me? So you bring in 3 this year. If Trent is still the same shite that we're seeing at the moment, where he just doesn't look to want to track his runners and sort of put in them yards, I can't understand how he's doing that, and it's not by instruction for some mad reason. It doesn't make any sense. But if it's a thing that he doesn't want to sort of play that, maybe that's the thing, you put him into midfield when Henderson then is taken out, or Thiago's out of contract next year, and you look and you bring in the defence, because the defence is fucking creaky as well. I think there's a lot of work there.
But it's like, I know people can get right into this and they can get into, you know, every facet of every fucking thing. But it's fairly simple for me when I watch Liverpool. The thing about, and I always think back to funny enough, Wijnaldum always comes into my head, right? But Wijnaldum was brilliant at it, right? Where a ball that drops, say, 15 yards outside the opposition's box, and it's to be won, right? He'd either win it, get it under control, play it back to a centre back, get it to a midfield partner, a full back, wherever it might be. He might move it himself, right? But he'd win it and he'd hold on to it. If he didn't get to the pitch of it, he would make damn fucking sure the fella that did wasn't getting a second off it.
Yeah.
Right? So even if this fella got a pass away, again, it was a percentage pass. And that's where Van Dijk, Gomez, Matip, whoever, absolutely, strung forwards up and just took it off them. And now people will argue, well, Virgil van Dijk should be well able to handle any forward one-on-one. But Virgil van Dijk isn't getting torn apart one-on-one. What's happening with Virgil is he's going out and he's doing exactly what he used to do. But Wijnaldum, Henderson, whoever used to be behind them and saying, you go out and shadow him, right? And if he happens to get something in the box, we'll be there. Do you know what I mean? Don't overcommit ourselves. But what you're seeing now is when that ball drops 15 yards outside an opposition's box, one, the player isn't getting to it. And two, when he doesn't get to it, it's literally one touch or one pass, and you can see our players flailing all over the place. You have a fullback who's playing up front, trying to get back. You have two centre halves who, where am I going to go here? Because now we've three running at us. It's just, the midfield, Keith, is massive. Absolutely massive. And I'm not, listen, I could be wrong. I could be sitting here in a year's time and we've signed these 3-4 players and these centre halves aren't working, and you go, you know what? We need to go into summer and get two centre halves. I'm absolutely fine with being wrong.
I think we'll do one centre back.
But we may, but I think you need to start with the biggest problem and see how much it solves the others, because I think they're absolutely a knock-on as to what's gone on this season with regards to the field.
I think the links to Ndicka make sense this year. If you can get Ndicka on a Bosman, and then put your money into the midfield, and then next summer you look to maybe, phase out another centre back and go big on a replacement. That makes all the sense in the world.
Well, that was a nice chat.
Yeah, it was. Before we finish up, I know you've talked about it the other day, but you know what's been, I haven't been able to sleep about it, breaking out in hives every time I think about it. Pep Guardiola. His fucking antics at that match the other day sickened me. Absolute.
I've already given me thoughts on this, so go on. I'll let you.
Yeah, I sort of gave it on Sunday night as well, and I was like, it's mad. And the more I thought about it, Arthur getting a lot of stick, and people are like, you should never play for the club again. And I was on the same boat. And then I'm like, he's just a happy fucking simpleton that's there. Doesn't know the script. He's only in and out. He's not. I don't need to blame him. He's just a fool. He's not Liverpool or whatever. But nobody is lashing Pep over his carry-on on that. Nobody is lashing that. And it had me thinking, right? Do you remember Rafa against Blackburn done that? Right? When we went 2-0 up. And Alex Ferguson made it his business to ring Sam Allardyce and say, yeah, he's fucking mugging you off. He's absolutely calling you. He's saying it's easy, it's over, it's done. Nobody's saying anything about Guardiola. I thought it was one of the most disrespectful things I've ever seen in my life by a manager. And people will be like, that's over dramatic. He's celebrating a goal and dragging Liverpool players into it. Like, I've never seen the likes of it in my life.
Yeah, but
and he gets away with it scot-free. He does his interview and it's like, well, I was telling them what a great goal. Oh, fuck off. Telling them what a great goal it was.
Yeah. But you see,
get out and celebrate with your own fucking players.
But I've said this, right? That's him. That's his insecurities with Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right? And the second thing is, the player should have told him to piss off.
Yeah. I think Tsimikas sort of tried to say...
Well, Tsimikas kind of went away from him as if to go, what are you doing? Yeah. But the other fella shook his hand, right? But the other fella... Yeah. The more thing where you're kind of going... there is times when people put their hand out and you go, oh, how's it going? You're kind of going, what the fuck? Like, but in the heat...
You don't know how to react and you're like, what's this?
Yeah, in the heat of a game. But in all cases, Pep hates LFC. He doesn't. He's the jealousy towards LFC is unbelievable. He yearns for Liverpool, and I'm not saying Liverpool in particular. He yearns for a club like Liverpool because of the club he's at right now, and there's no doubt about that. Because honestly, right, if Jurgen Klopp was playing against Manchester United tomorrow, right, and we scored a goal, and Jurgen Klopp, instead of saluting his players or giving it the big one to the main stand of the Kop, turned and wanted to tell fucking Garnacho and fucking Palestri how good a goal that was, I'd be going, what the fuck are you at? They're none of your business.
Exactly.
They're none of your business. But Pep wants to make Liverpool his business at every single turn. And no matter how he does it, he does it. When they're being investigated, he mentions Gerrard, right? When he's being investigated, he doesn't mention Liverpool Football Club, but he wants to mention the owners of other clubs, right? He is just, honestly, he yearns for a club like Liverpool, because it's dawned on him, for me, in the last 12 months, that no matter what he does at that club, he's going to be told, yeah, you're the biggest financed. Yeah. You were under financial fucking investigation, okay? And you're basically managing a fucking drugged up fucking Oldham. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's starting to come to him. And you can't, but I know what you're saying, like, it was embarrassing. It was. But you see, the thing is, if he does that against Spurs or Newcastle, and that's no disrespect to Spurs or Newcastle, they'd have a go at him, because they think that was like, oh, you know, disrespectful. He does it towards Liverpool, and people look and go, oh, you know, that's just the game against Liverpool means so much to them. Do you know what I mean? But they're actually afraid to come out and say, no, you're just obsessed with fucking Liverpool, right? Yeah. And honestly,
it's like Piers Morgan and Meghan Markle. He's trying to throw the lips on her, got custard poet, and now he goes out of his way to bleed and butcher her.
Yeah, it's look, the best thing you can do is ignore him. Yeah. Honestly. And the only way to put it back to him is for Liverpool to go and sort themselves out and come back next season. Yeah. All right? And come back next season.
Boy, you know what I mean? Pissy, as I have to say.
No, I'd love Liverpool to go to the Etihad next season, win the game, and when they get a goal where you know the game's over, I'd the whole team run to Simicast. Do you know what I mean? Do something like that. And just say, do you know, to make him look more of a fool. But listen, he's a darling in the media in England. Right, Klopp used to be, but he's not anymore, because Klopp speaks a lot of truths that people get upset about, and then they turn out to happen. Right, like early kickoffs, and he's gone on about different things all the time. But even if you like, especially if you watch Pep in his reaction to Man City under financial investigation, he should have been hammered on a daily basis about this. No one asks him anymore. But I can guarantee you, Klopp will be doing an interview on Friday, right? And he will be asked about transfers, and he will be asked about this, and it won't stop. It will not stop. But they won't ask Pep about financial this or financial that. Simply won't they? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, look, we're gonna get out of here. No one called in this week, pricks. But no, in fairness, we got loads of questions in, so that was fair.
Yeah, that'll do.
So what we do is we will do the call in every week.
It'd be nice if someone did call in.
If they call in, fine.
I love a chat with you, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I know, but we see
you go to the effort of having 3 boxes on the screen.
Yeah, and then I can just take them off.
You put the link out there, you know what I mean?
Listen, it's easy enough to call in, but if people just keep lashing in questions on a Wednesday night, that's absolutely fine. Tomorrow is the viewer's voice. Matt is hosting that. We're going to sort out some guests for that, so there will be 3 topics, I think, on Liverpool. Friday will be the Premier League forecast. Saturday we're off. Sunday we have 2 shows, Full-Time Reds and the Fatback 4. Tomorrow night on Bookmakers TV, I'm doing a show where we're going to look at the Premier League relegation battle, and we're going to try to predict who will go down. We look at every game, every set of fixtures that different teams have, and try to come out with a points total for each of them to see who we predict will go down. So Bookmakers TV, go over and check them out, subscribe, and 9 o'clock tomorrow night I'll have that, and then 10 o'clock on this channel you will have the viewer's voice. Anything else before we go?
No, that's it. Great chat. A lot of golf. Formula One took a surprise.
Oh yeah, I've another golf video coming out on Bang Average Golf tomorrow as well. Just about edited. It's fucking, it's horrendous and brilliant in equal measure.
If you haven't subscribed, get on and subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to, because we're going to be doing more and more stuff with more and more people on screen. So go and do that.
Especially on Masters Week.
Yeah, link for the description. Our link for the charity breast cancer research is in the description. If you want to donate, please donate there. If you're watching now or listening later, you can find it in your show description. You can donate, or you can copy the link and send it to friends, family, colleagues, wherever it might be. If you want to help us out for the golf day with sponsoring a hole, a long drive, and nearest the pin, or you want to donate a prize, or you want to donate money to let us go and buy prizes for the raffle, because on the day, the raffle and money that players are going to put in and stuff like that is massive to the total we're going to do on the day. But LFC Daytrippers at gmail.com, just put golf day in the description, and I will find it, and I will do everything I can to make that work if you do email me. Right, that's it. Really enjoyed it. That's been the Midweek Fix calling from the LFC Daytrippers. I've been Gav. That's been Keith. Talk to you soon. Over now.